need to be on the other side of bars. A lot of them. Some of them will be embarrassed.
This time around also, today also, as far as schedule is concerned, so we are learning that for, total 8 minutes it was,
we will know when there are men,
to perform in the air, and we are learning that during that particular, when it was maneuvering in the,
this is still a cover-up.
I
urge my Senate colleagues, do not lock up this bill. The president has already said he will sign it. That means he will sign the bill that we have here today. Do not change this
with
bill. He is ready to sign it.
Sharing inputs with us that it's yet unclear whether or not the
justice for these victims.
Doesn't seem
I reserve.
By the visuals, as you can see over here,
gentleman from Kentucky,
that entire ball of fire.
Mr. Chairman, may I inquire as to how much time I have?
Into crashing over there
17 minutes
at that internet.
I yield myself
Quickly go
2
back
minutes.
to Akash.
Gentleman is recognized
now
for 2
with
minutes.
Mr. Speaker, today's an extraordinary day in this chamber.
Right.
If my colleagues will vote for
the
this
aircraft,
measure,
and we are
we'll
learning
see
that around
justice triumph over politics.
2:15
Truth will triumph over
when the
deception
Tejas,
and obfuscation. Transparency will triumph over
as
dark
far
money.
as the individuals who are present in the air show are
will
concerned,
fall away to bipartisanship.
a few minutes they saw that jet crash.
Grassroots, the people
last 4 days,
reclaim the people's house with this vote.
a part of
It's going to be a victory
very much
for
a part
survivors.
of static display in
Not
the
just survivors of the Epstein sex
consecutive year. One of
trafficking
the
scandal.
reliable Indian Air Force, very much indigenous, made in India.
Some of them
jet
are victims.
was performing
They're
in
no
the air
longer
show.
alive.
Under what
Some have
circumstances
committed
this incident
suicide.
has happened, and also an
They
official
share one thing in common.
help
Their
us
youth
understand
was
as to
robbed
what
from
actually
them.
happened.
Much of their lives were robbed from them, but they're claiming it back. We're going to help them
crash
claim that
of
back.
the Tejas aircraft,
It's
first
not
crash,
just a
as I
victory
mentioned
today. If this vote prevails
last
for
year
those
when
survivors,
excise,
it's a victory for
happening
every
in
person,
Minister Narendra
man or
Modi,
woman, boy or girl,
because of some
who's been victimized
the
sexually
jet
in this
crashed,
country.
and right now there is
Anybody who's been a
incident
victim of sexual assault,
sort of
or maybe they've
of
been
this
victimized
pilot
by
who
a
was
family member.
very much involved
Maybe it's not a
in the
billionaire,
air show.
but they're all waiting and watching to see what we do
Disturbing
today.
only
They're wondering, if I
where
go to
perhaps
mom or dad, will anything
could have
happen?
lost his life.
If I
But
go to
since
the
you are
sheriff,
highlighting that
will
this
anything
is
happen?
the second time a
Well, we
Tejas
have a
fighter
chance
aircraft
today
has
to make
crashed,
something happen.
not to forget the
Something
fact
that's
that
not
too at an
happened,
international
something
air
that should
show
have
where
happened
you're
decades
looking
ago,
at over
and that
100
is to
aircraft
get
carriers
justice for these victims.
Oh yes, and in fact,
and
from
survivors, and
it was a matter of
transparency
pride for India.
for America. That's what
Dubai
this vote is
authorities,
about today.
had in fact.
And I reserve the balance of my time.
The Indian Air Force to send the aircraft, and it is not the very first time. Had a word with exclusive conversation with the Vice Chief of Air, that how they have received the request and how, in fact, send the aircraft. But
Lady from Georgia is recognized for 5
while
minutes.
it was successfully performing,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What wrong?
I proudly rise today in a bipartisan effort to release the Epstein
something
files.
a matter of concern and
finally,
investigation as well.
After 5 administrations have covered it
now,
up.
let's quickly
Earlier today, I
through
attended
the
the press conference
visuals that we are
where
bringing to them. This from
survivors, they're not
See,
victims,
this is
the
one of
survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's
the
sexual abuse
over here
and sex trafficking. Told their
you can
stories.
see the fighter jets just crashed. The amount that's in fact billowing out, black columns of smoke billowing out is at the international airport in Dubai. As we've been telling you, over 100 aircraft participated in various manufacturers, operators over here at the Dubai Air Show. It's one of the air shows in the world. Let's go to Akash, who continues to stay with us. Akash, very not ascertained whether or not the pilot was able to seem like a possibility going by the intensity of this crash, but through how this air show has been and for how long has Tejas been participating?
Air Force from Tejas fighter in the Dubai Air Show right now. We are Tejas crash in Dubai are being ascertained at the moment. The Air Force Public Relation Officer is somewhere confirming that how Tejas, has crashed in Dubai Air Show. Akanksha, I was mentioning about the schedule and anticipating at around the UAE time, the Dubai time. The aircraft was in fact went in fact for the air. After that, few minutes of performance, it got crashed. What are the reasons? If on and watch for official confirmation. But right now, important to tell that Tejas aircraft, is very much a part of Indian Air Force. Around 40 aircrafts are being operated by, Indian Air Force is also waiting for an upgrade, that is Tejas. But these Mark 1, in fact, the jet that has, crashed in the Dubai Airshow is Tejas Mark. The second such incident,
Right.
In the years of operational history. One.
Second such crash, and earlier also in Rajasthan, such a similar crash had happened. Akash, take us through what had been ascertained at the time of that crash. What was the issue back then in the Tejas when it...
Right. So, a court of inquiry was ordered, and in fact, the sources, within the Air Force were talking about some sort of technical malfunctioning, possibly, in the engine. But the result of that inquiry never came out in public domain. And this is also a reason why, now when this incident has happened, everyone is looking forward to some sort of, confirmation from the Indian Air Force, because, they constantly, taking this particular jet in the operations. In fact, during Operation Sindoor, it was very much airborne, against Pakistan. And in fact, in the recent circumstances, we have seen that how one of these squadrons have from southern parts of India to the western front of the India. And, relying on the platform. And that's the reason why it is very hard to say as to immediately what happened, under what circumstances this crashed. But, again, it cannot be only the operational, some sort of technical malfunctions or sort of, operational difficulties that may have been faced by the pilot during the time when he was airborne. But right now, we'll wait for some sort of official.
All right.
In some time from now, we'll get some.
With me, Akash. I'm also joined in by Captain Augustine Vinod, who's joining us on the broadcast as well. Captain Vinod, what can you share with us about your assessment as far as these visuals? If you can see, it's air and one that really leaves very little hope for the pilot's life. I'd like your thoughts.
Absolutely. In fact, in August of this year, we had seen a similar crash in Poland. Ace display pilot is, I think, Colonel Slab, very similar on an F-16, where the pilot got out, but the aeroplane's capability, we call it the mush. So the mush sort of took him to the ground. And in this case, a couple of meters more and the pilot could have come out alive. But that is the, dangers of the low-level aerobatics. We have had one during 8th October, where we lost another ace pilot on Mirage 2000 carrying out an aerobatics. Name was Joe Bakshi, Wing Commander. He was the commanding officer of my squadron, 7th Squadron. Again, in a downward spiral, roll, he crashed. So this is part of the game in low-level aerobatics. So any low-level aerobatic.
What we're saying is that this is the second which has crashed. What can you tell us about this crash that had happened, and what were the reasons behind it? Is there any so far from that previous crash?
They both are unrelated because first, when first crash happened, I happened to be close to Jaisalmer at that time. It was a malfunction. In fact, the aeroplane sort of almost landed. It had small engine trouble. But if you look at any single engine fighter in the history of aviation, Tejas enjoys the best safety record till date. The amount of flying hours done, the amount he's done. We call it the rate of type 1 crashes or where the aeroplane is lost completely. This has the best safety record for any single till date, including the Mirage that we operate. And
so interestingly, according to the HAL, it is the Tejas which is the most advanced version, especially when it comes to these fighter jets. What about this particular iteration?
Very true. In fact, the fiber wire technology, it has computers all the time calculating what should be the control deflection. The aeroplane does not, disintegrate in air due to mishandling of controls, which in a manual aeroplane you could, or in Mirage 2000, modern jet you cannot do it. So the pilot's movement is on to the computer, and the computer calculates how much of control deflection to that the aeroplane does not overstress itself. So it keeps you very safe, but in this you have to get out if you need that extra, we call it the G's or the acceleration force.
Okay.
Fly-by-wire does not allow you to do that because of the inherent safety.
All right, Captain Vinod, visuals that we are bringing to you. I'm going to request my team to cut full screen right now over here as visuals are concerned. That's where you can see the Tejas fighter down into a columns of smoke billowing out. This is the International Airport in where the Dubai Airshow was also sort of request my team to focus on this particular visual. This entire ball of fire. Quickly go back to Captain Vinod, who continues. Captain Vinod, if you quickly go across to Akash also, who continues. So Akash, if you can bring us more information coming in from the Indian minutes before you informed our viewers here at CNN News 18 that the Indian Air Force has confirmed this.
Right. So, Akanksha, for the benefit of our viewers, we are learning that on the day of the air performance that was happening, in Dubai Airshow, Tejas aircraft crashed, and we are learning about this unfortunate story. In fact, we were there tracking in Dubai, and till yesterday about of Tejas, people were appreciating what went. This crash has happened is something is a matter of but right now the aircraft has crashed, and also this is just the second incident of such crash concern, because when we see the operational history, it is in the service for years. One of the that can rely used during Sindoor, how squad, total 2 squadrons, 1 squadron South India to western part of the country. This is unfortunate. We can see, in fact, these are where we can see the Tejas crashed, performance at the is in the static display. One is there for, one is possibly for reserved aircraft. Total 3. On a daily basis, they are performing. 8 minutes was the allocated time. And to somewhere people were appreciating a sort of a maneuver, the barrel viewer, but right now, this unfortunate incident coming from Airshow, in some time from now we'll get some sort of clarity more.
In fact, I want to inform our viewers that Akash is very much in as we speak. Let me quickly go across to Rahul, live from Rahul. Show that we are looking at deeply tragic and equally disturbing. There's no information about the pilot yet.
Of course, that remains something of huge concern. Look, happened in previous air shows also, and we don't a few caveats here. Obviously, at an specifically, you've just come off on the back. All eyes on the Indian Air Force, and last 4 days. Remember, this is the 5th time consecutive flying and doing sorties at this air show. So it's not all gloom and doom. Of course, we need to find out to get you those updates. The IF has confirmed that, of course, this crash has happened, but they're going to the fundamentally, I just want to say a couple of things. We are just about inked a 1 billion 113 Tejas engines that were going to be supplied. So the engines, one component that India has, the manufacturing. We've been looking for partnerships, and we just clearly there have also been questions over the airworthiness to some extent. A large number of people have come out with 5-star ratings, specifically in the LC light combat aircraft on the ground, so that we get a visual image of him at that particular air show. But the picture that you're seeing on your screens, viewers, and they come from three perspectives. One, of course, you see from where the audience watch the goings on at close to the tarmac, with then a long shot of this expanse, and you can see this huge plume of smoke and number of people looking in that direction. Left a very short cropped closing in of that big fire. So you're getting very long. Was it an maneuver that didn't go right? Was it a technical fault? Fundamentally, let's look at the incidents that have taken in the past in the ground. So absolutely new or unprecedented. I can't
with Captain Rahul, very relevant point, and when we talk about its combat accountability, the survivability for the world over.
Absolutely, Akansha, and Rahul on these points. In last crash, I happened to be there close by. So both these crashes is very close to my where I am. The issue was very, very simple. It was established here as a professional fighter pilot, flown thousands of sorties on such aeroplane, and having done aerobatic, all is a case of mush that you always play with in low aerobatics.
Okay.
Just in August, like I was saying, one professional pilot, Colonel in Poland, in a very, very similar fashion. And this is to the ground, you're trying to do a barrel roll meters an hour. The margin for error is way.
I want to bring you in on the survivability fact. You're looking at a fighter jet. What are the features over here? There's an ESA radar, electronic war suit with radar warning and self-protection jack. Are we malfunction when it comes to the warning system?
All these during war, all the way aeroplane has been put into the aeroplane, and is check have when we are carrying out speed. These are a few parameters.
On level aerobatics, what are the potential?
Technology that the aeroplane has unconnected with each other. In low-level aerobatics, it is the pilot, it is the man and the machine, the combination of the man and the machine in terms of the aeroplane's ability to vis-a-vis the control inputs given by the pilot and the thrust that the. And in this case, Tejas is extremely capable aeroplane with wonderful wing. You lift as much as or better than any other. It's the margin for error in the afternoon. So it is a hot condition. In the hot condition, the aeroplane behaves in a morning may not be the behave in the afternoon because the air has now become thin. You cannot see it. So your margin therefore thin reduces even further. So that is where I think taken turn for the worst.
Stay with me, Captain
in
Vinod.
this
Let me
case.
quickly bring continues to stay. Was sharing to highlight caveats. What's important to mind right now that there could be influencing.
We'll have to wait for the official line. Point get this particular crash. Look, operational. It's had a very. If I'm not mistaken, and I could be. The second crash involving a Tejas aircraft in less than this is maiden flight in 2001. So it Tejas has been flying into aircraft. Well, it actually is one of the best in its category. An LCA, which is a light combat aircraft. What the group should underline to get into the region. I think our primary concern right now should be about where we managed to we don't know, eject safely from that crash. Quite know. One hopes news on that front, but I just want to go across to the small. Oh, I think we've lost him. We're going to try and more as we go through. But the one thing that we have to bear that the thing sheet last 20 odd years, it was did its crash led to this aerobatic setup. Could there have been didn't respond per expectations emerge in just a few hours? I think the IF will give us an update from people on the ground. Yes.
Right. With me, Rahul. Set of visuals that we are bringing to you before views. Crashes over there, as you can see, and soon after it's turned into a ball of fire, columns of, in fact, billowing out over here. This is the Al Maktoum International Airport in Dubai that you're looking at. There you see the Tejas fighter jet. And what we are also being told is that it happened roughly at around 2:10 p.m. local time. Is the other, in fact, remember we have visuals that we highlighted that this is where the air show has been parked over here at Maktoum International Airport, and that's the moment where you can see it nosedives over there. I want to quickly take this forward with Rahul, who continues. Your thoughts as we see these visuals?
Just from a former fighter pilot, and he said a key feature of this seat. Now, this is very interesting. He said it designed sort of level maneuvers. We still have hope to an explosive charge to blow off the able to access from the Dubai is more of hoping that the pilot managed to eject. Airshow witnessed the far getting.
A very important feature just fighter jet. But let's also quickly go across to Akash, who is reporting live from Dubai, remember, where the Akash, what are you picking up quickly from your sources apart from this crash has taken place?
Seeing that this aircraft is performing, and seeing these visuals out, that it is right. In fact, those who are on the ground suggesting that no ejection took place, but we will wait some. But this is unfortunate. This is the incident involving Tejas, one aircraft of the Indian Air Force. Remember, around 40 aircraft, around 8 were somewhere dedicated. And from last 3 days, how people selfies. Uh, uh, of course, we'll get to know in the investigation. This incident is 2024. We have seen a similar incident for which the court of inquiry, was ordered. In this particular scenario, the priority is to get some sort of news of the survival of the pilot. We have seen, the entire Tejas, which is there in Dubai, posing. Also, the vice chief of,
Okay, Vinod also. Broadcast Captain Vinod, I want to quickly can ensure the pilot safety, especially when if you're not looking at demonstrations that were happening in terms of the pilot. Hope.
Maneuver. Your cockpit is fairly limited. A ejected, B, like I said, though has something called the zero seat. That means in a zero forward velocity, possible. In this case, if you notice, going down at very high speed is positive, much positive for the parachute to deploy. So the Martin is
Steering clear of any kind of speculation right now, Vinod. It's very important. The last crash was 24, which was 23 years that it crashed, and for 23 years it had a squeaky clean record.
Absolutely. In fact, like any crash, the global pilot is at very limited. Why do we do low-level aerobatics? So that we show it to the public. This is how the aeroplane operates, fights against enemy in military, not in low level, but at people get to see sort of capability first. And secondly, it's many to join the Indian Air Force and be elite group. Low level, like you said, they just has had a wonderful and by our actors. In spite of this, I'm very sure many people would be, having Tejas in their fighter group, basically because of its record. And any professional has no indication towards the capability of the pilot, aircraft. Who's worn uniform or sat in this, trying to see the possibility A, B, C, D. In one of the A, B, C, D, our finger on box, we call the FDR, flight data recorder, and milk out the data and find out what has gone wrong. A month, 2 months, 3 months down the road. By that time, you and I may not be interested in the side story. Over to you, Akanksha.
Right. In fact, I just quickly play out a report that's just come in. We are some breaking input. Right. But let's just report that. Before we take you through these set of visuals that we've been able to get right behind me, as you can see, is in fact a perpendicular. So the entire Tejas over there. Pilot head on to a ball of smoke, in fact a fireball rather, plumes of smoke in fact billowing out. The second set of screen show the fighter jet crashing the brake in finally confirmed the death of the pilot who was fortunate news coming in from the Indian Air Force over there, which has now confirmed the death of this pilot at the Dubai. We were waiting for confirmation to come in. Quickly go news to stay with us on that piece of second confirmation coming in from the Indian Air Force. First, another the pilot.
Confirming that pilot, and it is very much evident. It is directly hitting, in fact, the ground and pilot. Learning that we have in this particular crash. One crash in Dubai Tejas aircraft very much taking part and coming from last, an investigation inquiry in fact, launched to the reason behind the particular crash of that Indian Air Force has crashed.
I want to quickly take that forward with before we Captain Vinod, one of the reasons why the pilot was angle.
To add to that, it is maneuver. Flying the roll maneuver. If you notice the point the aeroplane impacted the ground, the nose is well the horizon, in the sky ground. So it's when we work go down, we
The pilot was.
yeah, it was a malfunction on had adequate. Like I said, the at that time he was able to get out easily. But if you notice, it was looping maneuver. We call it the barrel. And the bottom of the barrel roll is the time. By the time you see the ground and you recover, he almost. I mean, I can see it very clearly. He almost recovered. Couple of meters more, he would have been out. Like I said, the devil in this entire episode is the thing appears any other reason that we are seeing. Where thinner the hotter the hair, thinner give you over. But the morning condition in in a desert like UAE,
Okay.
where temperature variation evening is very, very high.
All right, stay with me, Captain. We to play out over there, which has just now a crash that's happened. Let's listen in.
This is very shocking news. Middle of Airshow in Dubai. Tejas, Indian. Oh my God. But Tejas. Dubai Airshow. Kasi shock.
Shocked spectators now putting on social media what they've just now witnessed. It's not every day that air shows on that, Vinod. As you said, demonstrations that at risk. All right, we'll get an Akash on that note. But four set officials for you. And we can tell you that you can expect social media to now be buzzing with a whole set of videos pouring in ever since the crash actually took place. To be precise, 2:10 p.m. when the crash actually happened at Dubai's Al Maktoum International. The first one so far that CNN News is bringing to you. The expert views that are coming in. It is the angle with which you see it's crashed on to the airport. We in fact play that out again when it crashes. That perhaps is the angle which gave no ejection time to the pilot in deeply tragic conflict in from the Indian Air Force and today during that air combat. That its own set of challenges. It's different from wartime. Look at aerial combat or say aerial demonstrations over here. Typical ones that take place at these air shows. There is much to be looked at. The climate, the temperatures today, the air, also could have played a very significant role. The second visuals that we are bringing to you, you can see that point is the point which has in fact captured over there. In fact, the plume of smoke is what you can see soon as taking place. National air show that was happening in Dubai. Over aircraft were participating in it. Is back to us, Akash. What more can you share with us? What information coming in so to this crash that led to pilot perhaps enough time to eject?
Very sure, but it seems like the plane lost its thrust or something, because it is directly the ground. You can see it was a of this formation maneuvering, and a number of formations are there which are by Tejas aircraft. We have seen in the last 4 days, and reporting from Dubai, and have just returned yesterday. And till yesterday, we have myself seen that how it was performance by aircraft, where in fact the crowd was very excited to see this particular aircraft that was a very much part of Operation Sindoor, very much performing in the Dubai air show. These visuals were I think possibly went wrong. The aircraft in fact hit the ground, and pilot could not get time to in fact eject, and that is the reason in fact confirmation that we have lost the pilot particular crash, where the individuals who are present from the aircraft, and the long shot from the air show somewhere suggests no ejection took place, and that's why but Akanksha, once again, while it is we have lost one pilot, we have lost one aircraft in this is the Indian Air Force's Tejas. As to what went wrong, but there are several sort of social media comments where people are drawing it will be very immature sort of conclusion without the court of inquiry, and that's why being a responsible we'll wait for some sort of confirmation from the Indian Air Force as to what went wrong. But right now are somewhere that possibly it was a loss of thrust or something, possibly that happened because of which this incident has happened. Unfortunate incident where Tejas aircraft of Indian Air Force, Tejas Mark 1 in fact was very much in the show, and has crashed today.
All right, we are waiting on more information to perhaps come in with regards to what led to the crash. A, B, why couldn't the pilot even get ample time to eject, given previous crash that happened, mind you, happened after 23 years of Tejas B. It was in 2024 as well. The pilot had ample time to eject, as Captain Vinod had been highlighting that it's a very capable feature that the Tejas has as far as ejection for the pilot is concerned. Around perhaps with the direction in which it was crashing, it was head on, nose diving over there, as you can see in the visuals that we are playing out for you over. But let's quickly go across to, in fact, let's quickly go back to our news to state Akash, that it was the 5th day that the Tejas was flying. How much time is each aircraft allotted to perform? What is in fact the procedure?
Right, so on a daily basis, we get here in Dubai Air Show where they in fact dedicate time for the performance. Hurricane is getting 30 minutes on a daily basis. These are the 9 aircraft, the aerobatic team of the Indian Air Force, that is performing for 30 minutes. On the other hand, aircraft for 8 minutes on a day. In fact, if I remember it correctly, only it was only yesterday that it coming on a day. And total 3 aircraft are there, very much the static. We have the aerial display, and on a daily basis this aircraft was performing. As far as this aircraft is concerned, the operational history out Akanksha for it is there operational, and this is the second incident. Tejas Mark 1, we have total 2 squadrons in the Indian Air Force here. UAE administration sent, and 3 years it has been, and it's the first time that forming these In fact, during the Air Force Day also celebration, it is using the USG engines where also we are expecting it. We'll wait for the investigation what went wrong, but we have lost one aircraft as well.
All right, stay with me, Akash. I'm also joined in by another guest. Air Marshal Amit Tiwari is also on the broadcast with us. Deeply tragic day for the entire nation since we've lost an Indian Air Force fighter pilot. Air Marshal, what is your assessment? Because given that first one happened after 20 production as far as Tejas is concerned, that too pilot was able to safely eject. This was, of course, what's your assessment of what the pilot perhaps could not eject?
Good evening, ma'am. It's a really a and I've been associated in a manner best control. Let the side of the flying aircraft is quite a and and only a coda inquiry can tell correctly.
But I'm getting more in on what led to the crash as well. But what can you tell us about the Tejas jet, known for its combat capability? Has it laurels?
Yeah, time in developing this aircraft. They have two going to come, and there's going to be the backbone in Air Force. It's a very aircraft. It has ejection seat, etc., and it has got the big advantage with that aircraft is Indian condition and environment. It is tailored for requirement, and all the weapons which will be fitted on this are tailored for requirement. So it's not bought from somewhere, do some modification, etc. Aircraft, and it is a aircraft. But then, this was an air show. One doesn't know what all has gone wrong, and low level, and then lots where 16 fortunate thing, but very happened.
Absolutely, and if we talk about the combat capabilities of the valor during when it comes to our aerial capability.
Ma'am, this aircraft is in. You can use it for the air defense purpose also. You can use it for ground attack purpose. So, all the Indian missiles are Indian blue system, which will be again of. It will be a backbone of Indian Air Force, because here we don't take aircraft from outside and you have to take permission from the manufacturer. We are the manufacturer. Whatever amendment, whatever modification we want in this aircraft, there is nothing hidden. At times when you buy the aircraft from outside, source code and all to you, here everything is homegrown. So it is going to end. Other versions which are going to join Air Force in future are going to be even better.
And this new squadron has been christened by the Indian Air Force as the Flying Daggers 45. It was after over 3 decades of R&D that you're looking at the Tejas finally being inducted in the, it was ensured by HAL that R&D is not put to waste.
That's true. That's true. The whatever time it took quite some time, and I think the first aircraft came in the Air Force in 2016, and 45 was the first, and now the other squadron is 18 squadron, and few more squadrons will come up, and they have done very well in Ops Sindoor also, wherever they were deployed in air defense. They have done very well for themselves.
What does stand out is that it was excluded from the Republic Day fly past. In fact, it happened in January this year. That was also because of safety concerns. Can you shed more light on why perhaps that decision was taken?
As a I'll say a safety precaution, whenever we fly any aircraft over in Republic Day fly past, or when you are flying over a very large populated area at low level, we don't fly single engine aircraft. So most of the aircraft which take part in, say, let it be Su-30 or MiG-29 or Jaguar, they are all twin engine aircraft.
All right.
So that is that.
We'll have to leave it at that. Air Marshal Amit Tiwari, thank you for joining in on CNN News 18 and sharing your precious insights. It's deeply tragic, no doubt. We are awaiting a proper investigation into what exactly led to that air crash. But Poonam joins me now with more details. We could take us through what exactly happened. It's a deeply tragic day, not just for the Indian Air Force, Poonam, but for the entire nation. We've not just lost an aircraft, we've also lost a fighter pilot.
Absolutely, and that's the most unfortunate bit. What exactly transpired in those few seconds while it was mid-flight, and what was the reason that the pilot couldn't actually eject? That's something that needs to be looked at as well, and that is going to be a crucial point as we bring it out to our experts who join us here. My colleagues Akash will continue to be with us as well. But as far as what exactly transpired, why it is that the pilot couldn't eject, was there a particular reason? All of that, of course, will come out once the IAF conducts a thorough investigation on what happens, which will come to the fore in a few months, perhaps a few weeks at least. But as of now, these visuals that you see on your screens, here's what we know is that this was during the Dubai Airshow. For a few minutes, the Tejas was in air. And then you can see it suddenly nosedive, and then there was a smoke that you see, a fireball there on the ground, and smoke billowing from there. Unfortunately, a fighter pilot has also been lost. The pilot who was inside the Tejas unfortunately could not eject. The Air Force has confirmed that. Akash is joining us, getting us more details as well. Akash, what exactly transpired in those few minutes? That's something that is going to be a matter of investigation. The IAF eventually will release, hopefully, those details, which will give us an insight of what happened and how we can avoid it next time around.
Right. So incident happened at around 2 p.m. now, 2:10 p.m. of the local time. This is what we are learning in the latest information. And also, this was when the aircraft was in the air maneuvering, as it was a part-minute show. Much decided by the organizers, after the Surya Kiran Aerobatic team. And, for the last 4 or 5 days, we have been seeing that how this aircraft is performing. But today, something went wrong and pilot could not eject. The visuals are somewhere indicating, that it is possibly losing its thrust or something. That's when, pilot maybe did not have, an idea as to if, the plane is not going up in the air or something, this happened. Because of which, he could not eject, and we are learning that, we have lost the pilot as well. Now, whether or not, there was some sort of technical malfunctioning or what went wrong, under what scenario this has happened, is something we'll wait for the official inquiry, to reveal. But, an investigation has been ordered. In fact, we have, got a comment from Dubai Media Wing as well, Dubai Airshow Media Wing as well, where they have confirmed the particular crash, and in fact, are somewhere talking about the unfortunate news of the death of the pilot. But as far as IAF Tejas is concerned, so it is one of the reliable platforms. You see, Poonam, Air Force pilots rely on it, given that it is there in the operation for last more than 20 years, and this is the second such incident where we have lost the plane and the pilot.
Akash, do stay on with us. Wing Commander Nikita Chatterjee, defense expert, also joins us. Wing Commander Chatterjee, what do you think explains what exactly transpired from the visuals that you may have seen of how it all went down in a matter of just a few minutes? What do you think may have happened?
Hi Poonam. So the visual that we can see on the screen, as everybody knows, it for Dubai Airshow was going on. The aircraft was carrying out aerobatic maneuvers. So during the time of aerobatic maneuvers, the aircraft is, operating at its maximum capability. You know, the aircraft Tejas, as it has been designed, it is made up of a material which is very lightweight, very convenient and very speeds and in kind of angles in which that aerobatic show can be conducted. So what actually happened has not been known yet, but might be that while the aircraft was in a turn or maneuver, in such kind of a maneuver, a technical mishap would have happened, or technical issue, which the pilot, because the pilot at this point of time is, doesn't, this kind of a training doesn't happen in a day. A very capable a pilot who's undergone multiple hours of training, and after multiple rehearsals come to this stage where he can conduct a air show over a very crowded area. So definitely would have been a kind of an emergency where he was not able to react or did not have a time, or was in a position where the aircraft could not have retrieved itself to gain height or come into a position where he could have recovered.
Speaking of that, as far as the ejection seat of the Tejas is concerned, it's believed to be something that allows you, even when you low altitudes or even at zero altitudes, maybe at takeoff or at landing as well. And despite that, we saw that for a very long time, for a few seconds, even though when the flight was mid-air, there was no ejection that we saw. Is that probably because perhaps the pilot was incapacitated?
Oh, that I cannot assume that. Maybe, as we can see, the height of the aircraft is very low, and Tejas is capable of carrying out ejection at that point in time. But what I may assume that the pilot must have tried to rewrite the engine. We know it is a single cockpit, is a single engine aircraft. So all the workload at this point of time comes to a single pilot. He must have tried rewriting the aircraft, because no pilot ever tries to in the aircraft if he feels he can recover it, is what I believe, after having worked in this profession, air traffic controlling, for such a long time. So that could be what reason that he would have tried recovering the aircraft, and the time limit was so less he could not.
And speaking of the Tejas itself, Wing Commander Chatterjee, it's believed to be one of the safer ones that we have. This is only the second time that we've seen such a crash after its induction in 2016. So there has to be an investigation, and will be an investigation into what exactly transpired, so that we can better the kind of efficiency that this fighter has.
Definitely an investigation carried out, because we have Tejas is a class aircraft, and it is one of the best kind of we have in Indian Air Force right now, suitable for multiple roles, air defense also, combat also, strike also. So this kind of aircraft undergoing this kind of crash, that too at an international air show, I'm sure investigation would let us know why and what happened.
Do stay on with us. Air Vice Marshal Ravi Kapoor, former Air Force officer, Commanding-in-Chief as well, joining us on this broadcast. Air Vice Marshal Kapoor, if you could just tell us, you must have seen these visuals as well. You must have sort of gotten an inkling. What do you think actually happened in seconds, in those few minutes, from takeoff to it being mid-air, then suddenly hitting the ground, turning into a huge fire?
You see, first I would like to correct the Air Force officer who was commenting on trying to relight or restart. It never happens. These kind of statements are absolutely incorrect, and it's a very, very clearly laid down procedure for a pilot when he can restart an engine and when he cannot. So such speculations I would like to put to rest. That's the first thing. All these air shows are extremely well orchestrated, well planned, and very many times rehearsed. They are even rehearsed in a later, and so all kinds of minor wrinkles are ironed out before an aircraft goes for an air show like this, especially abroad. Tejas has performed at many international air shows, and it has performed extremely very well. It's a very safe aircraft, and it's got a great control system and a very good engine. All these maneuvers are actually broken down in an air display into very small little packages. And so every second that a maneuver goes on is a changeover from one maneuver to another. And so the pilot constantly checks his energy, his direction, his height, where is he in relation to the air show areas and things like to the crowd and things like that. And so there are only two reasons which could result in a catastrophic accident like this, where a pilot loses his life. And that is, one is there's a catastrophic failure, there is a major technical failure in the aircraft, or second, there is a error of judgment, or because the margins of error are extremely thin while performing such shows. I think it is too premature, with just about an hour and a half gone from the time of this accident, to come to any kind of conclusion what would have happened. There could be multiple reasons for this accident for which this accident would have taken place, and I can assure you that no pilot, today's pilots are so very well trained in Air Force, especially those who are doing these air displays, that they exactly know where to eject and where not to eject. And so, talking about ejection seats, there are very many other limitations which I would not like to go into details about. So yes, it's a 0-0 ejection, but there are maneuvers in which, in certain conditions, a pilot cannot. If he's trying to cover that aircraft, he knows the aircraft could be flyable. He knows the aircraft is not completely gone out of control, and that is a time, if something catastrophic like this takes place, that gives very little chance to a pilot to recover. And that is the only reason. And it is such a sad day for the Indian Air Force and for the nation to be losing a pilot, that too abroad, in a very profile air display like this. So my condolences to the family, to the Air Force, and to the nation. And we must, I think, thank this officer who we lost for the great laurels he's brought to the nation.
Absolutely, that loss is going to be incomparable as far as it is concerned. What happens next, that also is something that needs to be looked at, isn't it? Because this is, like I was pointing out earlier as well, this is only the second time that we've seen a Tejas in a crash. That the Tejas has crashed in the last, since it's been inducted in 2016. We do have to take some lessons from here, Air Vice Marshal.
Absolutely. Every time an accident, every time an incident takes place, we draw a lesson, and we try and to measure so that such incident and accidents do not repeat. And I'm 100% sure that Air Force will go threadbare into every end of this videos to identify, and there is a flight data and there is a cockpit voice recorder. Both are there in the aircraft, and those will be analyzed before the final cause of the accident is established. And once the cause is established, I am sure that corrective measures would be instituted. Whether it is on the technical side, or on the malfunction side, or on the pilot.
Stay on with us. Wing Commander S. Sudhakaran, former IAF officer, also joining us. Wing Commander Sudhakaran, your first thought, what exactly transpired? What do you think may have happened in those few minutes?
The first thing that I don't want to do, it's too early to say anything. Are not in our country, so taking all I have is 10 seconds of a video footage wherein I see the aircraft almost doing a roll of sorts, which possibly the pilot has not ejected. And by the time the platform was stable with plays and pit facing, probably late. That's all that I could say. That there is to make out the kind of fall that probably it from the because it is so that's what we see. So the best do to ourselves is not speculate, allow the court of inquiry to complete its proceedings, and we will all get to know why it happened and what happened and what are the remedial measures that need to be taken at present. My heart goes out to the family because I've just got to hear that the pilot is no more. It's one of my fellow brethren. I'm lost for words, but that's the nature of that Air Force is in. There is an everyday threat to the pilot every time, however capable it is. These are things that do happen, and we must understand it, and we must, rather than trying to find, because nothing can bring that aircraft back. That's all I have to say. Comments that I have to offer for what you have asked me.
India does stand with the family of this pilot. IAF offer its condolences as well. Now we have Defence Staff General coming out regretting the incident and family of his life. But Air Vice Marshal, I want to ask you this. The Wing Commander was talking about the trajectory in which this went down. Is that something that could give an inkling of what could have happened? Is that something that was as well? It didn't nosedive but went directly in?
Whatever angle is available gives one input, that is that the aircraft after the roll, the aircraft has just gone down. And so it could, why has it rolled the nose down is the question that I have. And down does not seem to be a kind of maneuver. And something that points to a possible technical malfunction, possibly control failure, or even if there was a thrust loss, the aircraft would roll. The aircraft would still fly. The question that comes to me, why has the aircraft rolled at that point in time before it is impacting the ground? And probably the investigation would have a little greater detail. Control inputs, what was the uncommanded roll, or was it a... So there are a lot of factors which are there, and at this point I would say that it's too premature to even think to do any kind of investigation on national media.
Facts to come out as and when they do. The IAF, of course, is going to invest and will offer and how it so with us. But before I get in a very special guest that joins us, our former fighter pilot is also joining us on this broadcast. Speaking with us, sir, here on CNN News 18. You survived a Mirage 2000 crash. This was back in 2000. What do you make of what may have happened today?
Every crash, I must say, is very unfortunate. More so if it's a fatal crash where the pilot, a very great professional who the country best specially chosen to do of this, and it really condolences to the family. Now we all have seen videos, the visuals. I myself have been a flying display director at Aero India 2000. The whole mechanics of carrying an air show of this kind, the pilots are flying at the limits of the envelope of the aircraft. It's a not only professional aircraft one day. Challenging task to carry mature and good fighter pilots or are carrying out these displays. Now, what we have seen today, of course, I'm not conjecturing, it has been a downward reposition. Some people are barrel roll, yes, trying to reposition, and in the downward part of the terminal part, that means the again, as I said, many people have talked about could it be a control failure, technical failure, engine thrust reduction at some stage. Anything can happen, could be an error of judgment or error of assessment of the rate of descent. But I must tell you that, I was the flying member of the court inquiry of Wing Commander Joe, similar display in airport 2000. I tell you that is fully serviceable and it flies. LCA has had a good track record, barring one aircraft which we lost earlier a year back for a technical reason. This aircraft have been fully serviceable. Unlikely that will be an issue, but the court fine form, they will go into sabotage flights. They will look at the snags that would have been on this aircraft earlier. So great will come, and mine is in the crew control, which is specially created for the flying, where the flying display director sits, and also an LCA pilot fully qualified on type would be sitting to give advice action if it's fit. But the maneuvers are so dynamic that it is not or correct to correct maneuvers beautifully. Yes.
Air Marshal Chopra, you were once also in a similar situation. You ejected safely. Why do you think that this pilot wasn't able to? What could have been the reasons for that?
In my case, we had time and therefore ejection was possible, and we were not doing a display, so they two were quite different. Yes, I did eject, the only Air Marshal in the world to have ejected in the rank of an Air Marshal, but in this case, in a display, the dynamics are absolutely very different. This is not the first this has happened. There have been air crashes during air shows all over the world. Every 3-4 years, you have had an air crash, and there have been cases like in a Su-27 in a display hit the ground, and yet the pilots ejected and came out safely, like land in the plume of the fire that came out of the same aircraft. So everything is possible, but again, unfortunately, the pilot is no more. We do not know what was in his mind, what was the decision-making matrix, what was he going through, and how he was trying to, continue with the display. So it's not appropriate to they were totally situations. Yes.
Sure. To completely different situations, just to get us what would have happened, because we do not want to speculate what may have happened. To wait for the court of inquiry to conclude out and details of what has. But it is still an unfortunate loss, Air Marshal Chopra, that we're dealing with, which is why we're talking about this in the first place. And I do want to ask you this. We were talking about the FDRs, the flight data recorders, and perhaps will give us an ink and be a investigation as well as to what has happened, the kind of scenes that we have seen. You must have seen the visuals as well. What are the chances of the FDR? What are the chances of getting accurate data from that?
The FDR is normally hardened. It is placed in such a place that it caters for a possible crash. We've seen in the recent Air India 71 case where the whole aircraft, practically everybody barring one person died. And yet we were able to take out the FDR. It took time there because it was a large aircraft to a building, but here it's open ground. It's a and therefore the FDR recovery might have already been done by now. We do not know. People move very quickly. The crash crew move very, very fast. The LCA crew, technical crew who would have been there with the aircraft which would have gone from here, they would have already moved there and might have already retrieved it. So, of course, it pains aircraft, ship aircraft. After the Marut HF-24, this is the first big program that we are running. It's important for it. It succeeds. It has to replace the MiG-21s. We have already committed to more than 200 1A. So therefore, it's all the more painful. Others are not great. They might, try make an issue out of it to try to build. It doesn't matter. This is a time strong, and I'm sure that we, as a nation, we will pick up from. And we know that these are the risks of not only flying but flying.
And Himachal Chopra to be one of the safer fighter jets that we do have since 2016, since the time it's in crash happened in 2020. So there is reason that this is an aberration, really.
If I may use a phrase, LCA is an aircraft. We have about the LCA program all the time, and we were all the time the flight safety record back because of technical. It's had a good track record. Technicians working on the by system good, and integration had already taken. They have got improved now, even better. The aircraft was doing very well, but we know that about 4 or 5 days back, when the aircraft was performing in Dubai, were making some nonsensical comments, if I may use. But that's okay. We are here to see, and we are looking. More LCAs and the AMCA subsequently joining the.
Absolutely, this was indigenous story, Bharta story as well, as far as the Tejas as well, that some outside of India may not necessarily see this particular instance as a failure, so to say. The story that India has had, especially with Tejas, it's been decades of and eventually to the stage where.
Yeah, and LCA is as far as technology is concerned, is a I'm a close flight test center, the aircraft systems and Bangalore. They come a good program. Yes, they due to production numbers, we are delayed because of but the Indian Air Force is excitedly waiting join the Air Force fleet in large numbers. The many squadrons we have already heard LC line operational in Nasik. We will be able to make 24 aircraft a year, I hope. The country is the LCA program success.
Absolutely. Air Marshal Anil Chopra, thank you so much here on CNN News 18. This may be a blip as far as India's story goes. We are in this particular case at this tragedy that is during the Dubai Air Show. We're talking about one incident, but do you think this is something that could have a larger impact on India's story as indigenous aircrafts are concerned?
So, India's story is a success story. To be a success, primarily because that Tejas has had, the kind of indigenization that we have had. find that even has propaganda by China, and so such propaganda would take place in some quarters. Think it should affect us. It should reinvigorate our the whole to come stand behind this tragedy and get over it quickly, and then get over it with double the intensity to ensure aerospace industry, air, which has a very good safety, good production. And just very quickly, though investigate it in detail to see that what was the cause, with very clear of after having identified the cause, and then move on. Like Air Marshal take place nowhere in the world. And similar story across, we should come out crash and not AVM.
I apologize. This is only going to make us stronger. We're going to make a comeback from what we learned from this.
That's a no-brainer. See, gone are the times when India could depend on are already knocking and becoming that indigenization and specifically of weapon systems. The next generation of weapons size, and therefore you can't buy it off the shelf and use these kind of things. Come what may, yes, one accident, two accidents matter, but we need to, make our results that much more stronger. And Tejas is a, time we need a lot of a fill our inventory, in the times to come, and therefore I agree with the MR. These do accidents across the fleet. Which amongst the world, so on the these things don't make us only resolves. We need to learn, to upgrade our SOPs, and then if there is any shortcomings in our manuals, we need to operations. But then goes out to the family of pilot, and I share the grief.
Absolutely. Family, Indian Air Force as well. Air Marshal Kapoor, if I'm not mistaken, two squadrons that are based in the south of, one of which part of Airshow, there are at least 40 air of the same version that are currently operating.
Yes, you are right. These are the Mark 1s, which are the first block that was manufactured. There are two squadrons, is in the south. Are completely operational, and they would have even participated in Dur, while basically because of the delays in the integration of some weapons and we await induction of Mark 1As, which is a upgraded version of Mark 1. So it would be a much more one, which is the aircraft which was air display by. So fully operational, and they doing these kind of they have exercises across continents. So and fully ready for any kind of aero.
Right. So as far as moving on from here on, Marshal is concerned, the lesson take from this as far as this particular version is concerned, but as far as developing further indigenous aircraft like these are concerned, or we could also take lessons from this particular incident?
Again, it is too premature from this. I'm very sure that if there are any in a very mid, and if they have, that would be incorporated. The realities between Mark 1 and Mark 1A. So that points to a addressed in the future Mark 1As too, before even inducted, or if there is any technical shortcoming, it would be the present fleet of Mark 1, which are in presently 9 aircraft.
This version aircraft has flown at global forum since 2016 at multiple across multiple countries. The Tejas has flown several exercises it has undertaken as well. 23, if I'm not mistaken, there was a Mark 1 is when the first ever international happened for a combat level exercise.
Since I've left the back, so comment on
sure.
that particular detail, but then I can of course tell you that stand an unusually unsafe kind of an aircraft, much a very stable platform. They just stands at on less than a 5 points, and then if you compare the same with the like 16s and F-18s, well over double digits into the 12 and 13 percentile points. In fact, the Eurofighter as well as the Rafale are the ones which rank Tejas given its track record so far. So I don't have any reason to have any disbelief in the pretty platform to be of pick any learnings from in under 3 hours. We in Air Force have definitely to do so whenever we do such kind of things. Aircraft accident or stroke, even an incident, it's a very, very phenomena, and it is important we and then try to learning. Just didn't happen, but that to learn. Forward, how do we minimize these accidents, and in the devices and chips and the intelligence from the digital domain, I think we will certainly not lose lives. A pilot is and how they are that in a premier event like this, we have lost one of the precious souls of our motherland, and therefore it's very important to keep these things in the try to get into score TRP points here. These must avoid
Sure.
and best to do is wait for the results to come.
And speaking of those results, Air Marshal Kapoor, how long does it take for a court of inquiry, for a thorough one, to be completed before fully out?
How quickly we can decode the and the cockpit voice recorder. We find it, and once that gets there, it takes and the whole process could probably the would even in weeks to 3 to 4 weeks, but a court of inquiry complete detail takes a lot of time. It could take if something has to be investigated, has to go for testing and further investigation. Then it could get over even within a month or so. But in case, yes, if the engine has to be sent for some investigation and some testing and all, then it could take even longer. So it just depends on the kind of reasons for which the accident took place, and depending on the flight data recorder and then the future of the investigation then follows. So take anything from probably a month to more than, depending on how much is the depth of investigation that one has to go to find the exact cause.
Out exactly transpired. I have to leave, and Air Marshal Kapoor for joining us here. My colleague Akash continues to be with us, getting us more details and what comes next. Akash, we've been talking which will details exactly from takeoff to after the Tejas nosedived and eventually ended up in that plume of fireball, that plume of smoke that came out on the sidelines of the Dubai Airshow.
Oh yes, we will wait for the court of inquiry, in fact the investigation, and as Air Marshal Kapoor was pointing out that it will take at least 1 month to get the basic details, because there are a number of things investigated. If you see, in fact, mentioning just a while back that whenever it is about the maneuvering turns or the maneuvering, that is going to happen. There was an indication that pilot is facing glitches. If something unusual or something similar to that, it will be also about this. Been seeing these aircraft, very much a part exercises. So, this question on the aircraft after this sort of incident, of course, it will be if there was some sort of problem, pilot this the craft. You see, one is standing for the ground display, and 2 aircraft, were there that were used interchangeably, for the air display. In the 5 days, we have at least, on 4 days, this aircraft has performed. One of those, 40 aircraft that are very much there, with Indian Air Force. Indian Air Force is these close to 40 aircraft. 2 are the, of course, trainer aircraft, so around 38 aircraft, are there. 2 squadrons. First aircraft was delivered in 2015, and we have been seeing that how aircraft were delivered subsequently. 3 aircraft were sent, and whenever these aircraft were, are sent to any event, so we a mix of squadrons where they can send 2 aircraft squadron and 1 aircraft from one. We'll get all these details. In fact, the name, which is followed. Members are informed. Out with the official confirmation on the name of the pilot, but it is very unfortunate. In fact, I was put Tejas team, the entire Tejas team, met with MO and I interacted with and I was very much present during display yesterday and 2:10 p.m. where we have been given to understand that this particular aircraft crash in where the conclusion is wrong, but this is we have lost one pilot and one aircraft of the Indian Air Force.
Right, Akash, thank you so much for getting us on that front. We will keep off this. We will be awaiting reactions coming in. The unfortunate of the pilot who was statement expressing regret at what happened. Of all of that, but for now it's time for a quick pause here.
This is News 18 Network. India's Network.
Now, as the probe into the Delhi now, as this probe blast has uncovered terror conspiracy following 2 May 8 hours. Investigations now reveal that the developed rocket command attack in the national capital. A key who also is known as Danish, Jammu and Kashmir Nabi. He has been named as port. Arrested Ahmad Siddiqui, Alfala University, as well. As you know, Alfala comes to its finances. There is a lot to unpack. There a lot remains unanswered when it comes to that as well. Follows evidence which was searches at locations connected to the module. CNN has also accessed order which is sending the as I just the Alfala is as his interrogation imperative to a larger terror the Alfala ecosystem. Saket Court of submission has been and they've also members and he might flee custody and crucial link here. You know, Alfala was truly at the center of the terror that was emerging, yet to really going behind the scenes. For more on this, with us, Ananya. Thank you so much for joining us, Ananya. We really are learning university. It goes to show higher network. Well,
Alfala University and the Alfala Trust owner was actually last night before the Saket Court to not only its family and that's the reason interrogation small secretaries and tells the small chunk of the Alpha something in nature, and that is why his custodian who knows about all the financial and University, and that's the enforcement. Instruction remand is what has been granted. Days was actually sought, and that is something that makes it very, very imperative as to what university actually in was it in fact a funding ecosystem, university that was fueling terror, or whether there are much more than what meets the eye, something that multi by agencies, and obviously the Farida
is India's largest news network.
Now, as the probe, as this probe has a larger, more sinister following two major arrests in the past 8 hours. Investigations now reveal that the group modifying based explosives, mass-style attack in the capital, Bilal Wani, who is done, a Jammu resident, key aide of Umar Nabi, an active co-conspirator, also accused of providing support. This includes verification for an Hamas style to build rocket-based. Meanwhile, the enforcement Ahmad, who is the founder of Alfala University, in a money as well. When it comes to university, its accreditation, when it comes to that as well. The arrest follows evidence which was gathered during the recent searches at locations connected to this entire terror module. Now, CNN has also accessed order which is sending the Alfala owners to 13 days. As I just told you, the founder of the Alfala University is in custody. Says his custodial interrogation is imperative ecosystem, the Alfala ecosystem. The court also noted that the mission that only a small part of has been identified till now, and they've also said that his family members Gulf and flee the country as well. So that is a threat that remains. However, the owner has been sent into 13 days custody, and that remains. He is a very, very crucial link here. As you know, Alfala was truly at the center of all the terror that was emerging. Yet to cover. For more on this, we have with us Ananya. It only goes to show how far and wide this entire network had.
A big break enforcement directorate had as far as the funding of the Alfala University is concerned. The Alfala Trust was actually remand was granted after he was received last night before in fact
at 5 demonstration at the Dubai International Airport, even as crowds looked on. That is the fire was what the aircraft went into. Eventually, there was a plume of smoke that came out of there. Now, completely barren land after that fire has been doused. The aircraft, a single-seat light combat aircraft that's developed by Hindustan Aeronautics. An official statement has come out from the Indian Air Force on the crash and the tragic demise. The inquiry team to probe the cause of the crash has also been constituted. A court of inquiry will transpired in the final moments what led to the crash. The flight data recorder is also going to be extremely crucial. as ascertaining the facts. Tejas Mark 1. This is two operational squadrons that India has, the fighter aircraft. One of the three ones that are in the Dubai Air Show is the one that went down today. There were three that were taking part in the been going on for the last several days. There are at least 40 Tejas Mark aircraft that are used in the Indian Air Force as we speak. There were two squadrons in the south of India. These three of one of those two squadrons that are based in the south of India. One squadron, I believe, is in Rajasthan. The IAF issued a statement over what has transpired. It has gone on that the IAF Tejas aircraft met with an accident in Dubai. This was during an aerial display at the Dubai Air Show. The pilot succumbed to fatal injuries in the accident is what the IAF has also confirmed, going on to say that they deeply loss of life the family of the bereaved. Court of inquiry is being constituted. It will ascertain the cause. We will find out more details when the report of that court of inquiry is made public, or if details do come out. The flight data recorder is going to be extremely crucial. Once that's recovered, once we have details of what exactly happened, that's when we will know. That's when the investigation will know what exactly happened and what lessons can be taken, if any, from this tragic incident. Akash, my colleague, getting us more details on this. Akash, we've seen condolences coming in from across quarters. Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan too expressing his condolences to the bereaved family.
And in fact, we have seen the political leaders, in fact, Arvind Kejriwal, Rahul Gandhi and others tweeting about this tragic loss where the country has lost in this particular incident. And it is very unfortunate, Poonam. We have been discussing as to what can be the reason behind this particular incident. Several details are trickling in, and we are waiting for some sort of clarity from the Indian Air Force as to what went wrong.
Right, and we will keep an eye out of when we get those details. For the moment, Akash, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. It is a wrap from my side here on this edition of Nation at 5. Plain Speak coming up next.
This is News 18 Network. India's News Network.
As the probe into the Delhi blast, we're shifting our focus now, as this probe into the Delhi blast deepens, the NIA covered a larger, more sinister terror conspiracy following two major arrests in the past 48 hours. Investigators revealed that the group was modifying drones to develop rocket-based explosives for a Hamas-style attack in the national capital. A key breakthrough came with the arrest of Jasir Bilal Wani, who also is known as Danish, a Jammu and Kashmir resident and a key aide of Umar Nabi. He had an active co-conspirator, also accused of providing technical support. This includes notification for a Hamas-style attack and attempts to build rocket-based bombs. Meanwhile, the Enforcement Directorate has arrested Jawad Ahmad Siddiqui, who is the founder of Alfala University, in a money laundering case as well. As when it comes to the Alfala University, when it comes to its records, its accreditation, its finances, there is a lot. Their lot remains unanswered when it comes to that as well. Follows evidence which was gathered during the recent searches at locations connected to this entire terror module. Now, also access owners to 13 days ED custody. I just told you, the founder of the Alfala University, Saket Court, says his custodial interrogation is imperative to unearth the larger terror ecosystem, the Alfala ecosystem. Saket Court also noted that the ED is only a small part of Alfala ecosystem has been identified till now. And they've also said that his family are in the Gulf and he might as well. So that is a threat that remains. However, the owner has been sent into 13 days custody, and that remains here of all was in this university, and we're yet to uncover what was really behind. Have with us, and thank you so much. More and more about this Alfala University. It only goes to
Absolutely. A big breakthrough with the enforcement directorate as far as the funding of the is concerned, and the Alfala Trust's owner taken into custody by the enforcement directorate yesterday, and a 30-day remand was granted after he was released late last night before in the additional to highlight his notice. The interrogation is necessary. Not only that, chunk directorate and tells the court that a small chunk of the alpha amounts to over 400 has been uncovered and it could be in nature, and that is custodial interrogation. He's somebody who knows about all the financial roots of the Alfala Trust and the kind of funding that comes through the Alfala University, and that's the reason why, in fact, this particular person needs to be in the custody of the enforcement directorate. Remand is what has been granted. 14 days.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying. Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. In a fresh flashpoint, Stalin has now called Sanskrit a dead language, charged for spending 2,400 crore rupees. A stepmotherly Tamil, for example. Just a link, another attack on India. This isn't controversy or some, or even in Tamil language. Hindi. DMK from the anti-caste Periyar movement challenged Sanskrit as a symbol of dominance, but Udyanidhi Stallin's comment raises a rather broader question. Why does a political leader of his feel one of this, perhaps some language born regional sentiment or out of a carefully cultivated strategic identity against what DMK often frames as the fundamental question. Sanskrit is of this land. It is the language of our historical heritage and culture. Deriding a native society a liberal fetish justified in the name of secular politics. We'll take that and more up with our guests in just the first one coming up on Plain Speak today. Is this purely disdain, especially one that you oppose? Show today we speak to an expert about the Islam in the entire country of 3 such cases coming to light. Later on the show also the author Deep Haldar on everything going in Bangladesh and more. Now, by the literal definition, language refers to one that's no longer in active. Does this epithet suit Sanskrit? In fact, used in Hindu and Buddhist religions, rituals, chants, mantras across. Its continued in these cultural practices keeps it a living part of everyday life. While not a primary vernacular for many thousands of people in India, Sanskrit as their mother tongue actually has been steadily rising. There are also several villages, for example, Matur and Hosatka or Jiri in Madhya Pradesh, where residents use Sanskrit for daily communication as a result of revival efforts. Sanskrit is an official language recognized by the Constitution and is taught as a second language or optional with around 1 lakh teachers in India alone. Furthermore, in journals to be produced and published, including a daily newspaper in Mysuru 70. According to the 2011 census, Sanskrit has witnessed a high percentage increase in speakers since 2000. Almost rise in Sanskrit speakers to 20 increase in speakers respectively, and Oriya all have witnessed 15% increase in speakers. In fact, Tamil has noted almost 14% increase in speakers. If you figure, Urdu has actually seen. Would that mean then that money should not be spent on Urdu language anymore if justification? 500 countries have been funding Sanskrit between 2014 and 2025, and this seems to be the main DMK has espoused. Funding for Sanskrit is channeled through 3 Sanskrit Rashtriya Sansthan. 15 crore located under the ground, which is towards the same time. But this is what the government says as far as this funding disparity is concerned. The government promotes Sanskrit through central Sanskrit universities established Sanskrit Act 2020. In contrast, Tamil is Institute of Tamil, which receives a smaller allocation. Of multiple universities for Sanskrit is a reason that there could be. The government has also stated in Parliament that funds are allocated based on requirement utilization. It's not really on a language by language. The government also has promoting all Indian languages through policies like the NEP 2020, which do promote multilingualism and particularly a focus on mother tongue. So this Sanskrit in Dharma insult politician in Tamil Nadu is just pointing to a disdain, inherent disdain, garbed as liberalism, secularism for India's heritage.
ஒதுக்கின நிதி எவ்வளவு தெரியுமா? தமிழ் வளர்ச்சிக்கு வெறும் 150 கோடி ரூபாய். ஆனா செத்த மொழி சமத்துவத்துக்கு ஒன்றிய அரசு கடந்த ஆண்டுகள்ல ஒதுக்கின நிதி எவ்வளவு தெரியுமா? 2400 கோடி ரூபாய்.
And we can say and we can use our own language, but even the mother Tamil won't allow degrading languages.
I want to go across to our guest joining Kalyan Raman, spokesperson of the BJP with us, Pulla Rao, political analyst from Tamil Nadu, Sumantri Raman, political analyst from the state, and Rahul Ishwar, activist, is also joining us. Pulla Rao, I want to broad base this discussion. I don't really want to make only about the fact that, you know, this is Sanskrit versus Tamil. Both are Indian languages, both are our country's pride. But why is it okay to deride Sanskrit as a dead language and, you know, even garb it as some sort of a liberal issue in India versus quote-unquote right-wing, because I'm guessing that is the positioning, or a secular issue in India? Isn't Sanskrit to be celebrated by all, even if it's spoken by lesser number of people today?
Let's first come to your point. It should be celebrated, but that's all the government is doing. The government has not done anything for its propagation. Hundreds of crores of it would be well worthwhile to see what they are doing. What kind of universities are they running? Thousands of crores.
Yeah.
That itself shows the government has failed. When the government is spending, there should be something. You have one village here, one village there. The progress they did 12 years to revive Sanskrit.
No, so I will tell you, I did, no, 1 second. You are selectively quoting what I said. I also from census, where Sanskrit has reported over 75% increase last two censuses.
Shivani, what's the base of my perception?
So that's exactly what I'm saying.
increase-
Argument is that the
Those are
base
not
is
statistics.
small, so even 75%,
Very small.
76% doesn't mean
My
anything. That's a separate argument.
My argument is somebody something so much should have thrown something more for it. Number one. Number two, yes, Tamil is the oldest language. In India, my friends may say Sanskrit is equally old or whatever. But they've really not done anything about it. The Chinese use Chinese language for everything. So therefore, yes, the Prime Minister said he loves Tamil. What has he done about it? That's what they question. On the third, I'd say, I just saw the former governor of Tamil Nadu, Tamil side, talk about Sanatan and all that, how bad it is. You know, the Supreme Court, they criticized her away from it. So will I say that she is anti-constitution? She is what? She failed. Court can the Supreme Court strictures about her performance as governor of Tamil Nadu. So I am not here saying that she is anti-constitution or she should be treated as someone who spoiled the constitution. It's freedom of speech. I don't agree with anybody what they say. You know, they go too far.
So there is a little bit of
let us enjoy it.
Okay. No, I take your point, but there is a little bit of conundrum in what you're saying, because you're saying what has government done? They should be judged on whether the funding that has gone to Sanskrit has actually helped Sanskrit or not. Numbers I have. If you feel that that is not in separate case altogether, but even in actual terms, I will give you the figure of what people are saying now. So in actual terms, and we can only count mother tongue, right? I'm only giving the reference of mother tongue as somebody who may know Sanskrit but doesn't recognize it as mother tongue, speak it as a third language. But in 1971, there were about 2,200 odd people who spoke Sanskrit. In the 20 as the mother, I beg your pardon, efforts have not yielded some result to speak of. But this is a classification of Sanskrit as the mother tongue.
Small point.
Yes.
Small. Thousands. Now I can tell you, government can save all this money. You have got artificial intelligence and all these hundreds of who are running around. You go deeper, there may be a scam there. They're being paid for translating. Deeper. They're doing in this sense. I use them develop a Hindi university.
Okay,
Let them spread it on a Hindi university. I welcome it.
1 second. My only issue Stalin is not criticizing the efforts of the government are not yielding enough results. What he is doing is actually deriding Sanskrit as a dead language. Kanyal come in here because BJP to what Udyanidhi Stalin has said.
First and foremost fact is that the family of Tamil Nadu, starting from Karunanidhi, Udayanidhi, Dayanidhi, and so on and so forth. So, these people are too ill-informed. The person, Udayanidhi, is a low IQ person. Understand what is what about languages. He is not a language expert to begin with. And the main factor as such controversies are being promoted by Udayanidhi is based on some suggestion that when they face situations like on the governor issue, when they take a slap from the Supreme Court, this is what they try to do by diverting the attention of the common or the just to see the taught in over 20 universities in USA. Is ever it is taught in 8 universities in Italy. How dare he says that it is a dead language? It is not that he wants to say that it is dead language. He just wants to divert the attention that they had a huge on their face in the governor by the Supreme Court when the Honorable President had sought a reference on 14 questions in which it was clearly in the matters of governor or president for that matter. So having received such a huge slap, shelter under some issue.
But what do you make of that? They go to despite the fact that it may be the last of our chants and everything, will speak day to day Sanskrit.
Endangered, whether it is a species or an animal or a language or anything which is part of an Indian ecosystem. Let me give a very example. We all talk about the best social life. Okay, in that itself, that is, he talks about karma. The most wisest of all Tamil language talks about Sanskrit, talks in Sanskrit, and Karunanidhi is nothing but Sanskritam. If I have to translate it, I have to call him as Anbu Chelvan something. So see, they just have to make an issue because they don't have any other issue to talk about it. The government is fumbling. The in the country, so they want to run under something or the other. The strategist them, you please raise this issue.
You binary of South versus North, binary anti everything else, Tamil versus Hindi, Tamil versus North going. Raman, do you see shade of this here, given that Tamil Nadu is changing versus the issues that they should be addressing in elections?
There are two here. For the DMK, a lot of this is core ideological stuff. Entire, theory, sort of in some ways like the BJP needs an enemy or to sort of target. They also need an enemy. So the enemy for them has traditionally been the Brahmins. It's been the people who from other states. So their ideology is around that. At least the parent organization in which the DMK came has this as its core idea. They whenever they want to divert attention for the press. So when they face anti-income to this, when they face a tough situation because back to this, anti-Hindi, all of they basically their modus operandi also. There is no logical reason. It's very objective. Individuals for their regional languages. Tamil Nadu government has a budget. Sanskrit is except for 3 states where it is technically not in widespread usage. I think it's one of the official languages in Uttarakhand and a couple of other states. But let's leave that for the moment. The point really is that the government of India has to fund Sanskrit universities. They've got to fund. So if you 200 crore or whatever has been spent on Sanskrit, bulk of it would have gone to university. Now, the individual state governments then to say that they are funding Tamil universities besides the central Tamil university for which that 130, 120 crore or 100. These state governments fund. The Karnataka government funds universities in Kannada.
No.
The Andhra Pradesh government funds Telugu universities. So my point, not equal Sanskrit with the regional language. The simple reason is that Sanskrit is not getting any funding from the state.
Any state government
has to do something.
No, and
so
even if let's say there were 1 or 2 states, as you mentioned, who may work for Sanskrit revival, the central government still has a responsibility towards Sanskrit. You cannot. judge that the central government has a responsibility to a language which is one of and born in India.
The DM that is part of the Hindu identity of India.
So I understand problem in modern day politics, Sumant.
No, they do. They do. See, before elections, now they've all become will continue to be till at least till May, right? And they keep making this. Last time, Mr. Stalin said 80% of the party is so on. But those are to be used only during elections. So before the election, the party, becomes pro-Hindu, becomes supportive of Hindu causes. The elections are over. Their true colors.
No, but you mentioned an important point. States are born out of linguistic identities. State governments are regional language. And can I mention? And they do. I'll mention Tamil government has allocated 133 crore for translating of Thirukural, 70 crore for archaeological excavations, including 40 crore for gallery at Egmore Museum, for translating masterpieces, 10 crore for Tamil heritage overseas, 2 crore for publishing technical textbooks, 2 crore for Tamil book fairs overseas, and 1 crore for Tamil World Tamil Olympiad. So Rahul Ishwar, I don't understand what's the problem. It's your job to promote Tamil, right? Because Tamil is the official language of the state. The center still has to do its job for Sanskrit. So do you see this as a problem which I think is infesting liberal, quote-unquote progressive secular politics, not just in India but globally, where on one hand they will say, oh, native culture needs to be, on the other hand, in the name of secularism, fighting, patriarchy or whatnot, they will derive what is native to this land instead of saying, no, we must come together to
Shivani, 1949, father of constitution, Ambedkar moved and it says Sanskrit. So father of constitution, Ambedkar, the greatest Dalit icon we have, the greatest constitutionalist we had, supported Sanskrit as the official language and support Sanskrit as the language of India. See, Sanskrit is right holding the soul to culture and many of the Indian aspects, and let us not be shy about it. Second, there is not even a doubt. Iota Tamil is older than Sanskrit. A person than Modi ji went on record to say not twice but more than 4 times is older than Sanskrit, and he expressed to the next generation. And now let us be politically honest. What is the core debate about? Sanskrit or language more closely associated with Brahmin and forward caste communities. Tamil is the ancient language, so there is always a political strand of debate between two. But Swami Vivekananda says it's different. If Sanskrit is the father, Tamil is the mother of Indian civilization. We need both father and mother. I'm a person and Malayalam mix of both Tamil and that is the essence of India. So there is a religious community clan between this, and that is friend-ended versus Tamil. What we need is we should celebrate Sanskrit, we should celebrate Tamil in a great way. Prime Minister Vivek categorically said this, our Modi ji said this. Tamil is the oldest language. Tamil is older than Sanskrit.
What does it have to do with Tamil being the oldest language? I'm not understanding. This is then, language chauvinism again. Whether oldest or not is irrelevant to this debate. I'm sorry to say this.
Shivanji, it is.
Because then you're making about a competition between two languages born and equally important to India.
Sense of Tamil pride, and the entire Congress is lost out to Tamil Nadu because of the anti-Hindi agitation. But the majority of Indians says both Sanskrit and Tamil should be celebrated, and there should be a dichotomy. The issue with politicize these issues in a big way. When the election comes.
No, so in this case, he's not saying, garbing the whole issue of how much funds are given to Sanskrit. But he has maybe revealing bias by calling Sanskrit a dead language. If millions of people, and not just once again, not just thousands, millions of people, sorry Rahul, millions of people, not just but across the world, and it could well be 1 billion if you count all Indians across the world, continue to chant Mantra still today in. So on what basis do you call it a dead language?
And not Sanskrit is the mother of the ancient most Indo-European language.
Yes.
In the entire Indo-European, what is called PIE or Indo-European language, Sanskrit is the most Asian language. So we should celebrate that culture and treasure. We should understand the place politics. And just let me last line. It is my great he cannot learn Tamil, and he quoted Tamil when he need to synergize Sanskrit and Tamil and not make like the DMK.
Okay, Pulla Rao, do you think, this is just passe politics? In 2025, young politicians like Udyanidhi Stalin shouldn't be mired in politics of this kind. I understand this is DMK, but if you continue to harp only on this, as we are seeing in the rest of the world, youngsters are going behind. This is young DMK talking like this.
Oh, I don't think so. You see, most of the politics is culture. What is going on in USA, for example? Donald Trump, for example, basically culture. So don't underestimate. Udayadhi Stalin. And my friend Kalyan Ramanji, a successful, always emotional intelligence, whatever. But culture, I would say, I heard what Mr. Ishwar, it was good if you gone that step further and said that raise Tamil, raise in your language. When such a grievance is brought forward, it should be addressed.
What is the grievance? Sir, what is the grievance here?
Grievance is simple. You're not from. I didn't give a speech to him, but it is not being adequate. Being it is not being in use as much. I don't want to use the word dead because no language.
Representative and Sumant Raman talked about the case. Just a absolute figure number, despite the funding that comes from center. I explained this at the start. It happens via
let me interrupt you. I heard that.
And Tamil Nadu government is celebrating Tamil or is advancing Tamil cause in its own.
Yes, so one thing is, I entirely agree with what Mr. Ishwar said. Prime Minister said, I wish I learned Tamil. Well, I would even go further. He should have learnt a little bit. He had 4 years' time since the last election. It should have gone well. Tamilians love their language. I may be a little, people, they love it more than most other people love their languages because that's their kind
so
of
is this about love of, Mr. Raman, this is because when love for your own language, love for your own, in a diverse, multi-linguistic country like India becomes antagonistic to others, I think then it becomes a problem. Love for your own is not a problem.
This is not about DMK is never about love for anything. It is about hate for others. So the party's ideology itself is largely hate. A lot like, I keep saying, the BJP and the DMK are two sides of the same coin. They can be brothers in arms actually. It's just that their targets are different. But
different
it's a party which believes in othering. Exactly. So they're two sides of the same coin.
Yes, and their whole Brahmin-focused politics has also been criticized as extreme othering of a minority amongst the community. But I was also addressing Kalyan Raman here. I forgot I have two Ramans on the show today. But yes, Kalyan Raman.
Yeah, see, first of all, we have to understand the irony that 80% of the Karnataka family cannot read and write in Tamil. It's a matter of fact. Particularly Kalanidhi, Dayanidhi Maran family, now latest Inbanidhi and co. These people cannot even write and they can only speak. They cannot read and write. This is a matter of reality. 80% of the think that we promoting Tamil as DMK is something laughable. So it is not the Tamil or promotion or so promoting some other Sanskrit and all. For Sanskritam, there is no single physical entity or a geographical entity in the form of a state that is promoting. For Telugu, there is Andhra and Telangana. For Tamil, it is Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Malayalam, and so on and so forth. But not for Tamil, which is one of the oldest, Sanskrit, one of the oldest languages of the world. That is, we say that they are born brother, sister, or whatever, father, mother, whatever you call it as. End of the day, for promoting Sanskrit, which is the oldest language, we must have a mechanism for which there may be some funding happening, which is part of the game. So there is no question about it.
If you want more funding, then please ask for it. The problem is that you can also do it this way. You can say, listen, happy that you're spending so much on Sanskrit, but we
as a
want
government,
more.
we are sitting on 4.5 lakh crores of funding in Tamil Nadu as part of our budget. A good amount of money is already spent on Tamil promotion by the state, the state government, not by the central government. In the absence of any state government spending exclusively for Sanskrit, it becomes the duty of the central government.
No, I am saying, let's say you want more.
There is no great question about it.
Let's say you want more from the central government, you could always pitch for it. Why do you have to attack another language and call it a dead language? Okay, Rahul Ishwar, final 30 seconds. My larger point is...
Just one final submission.
My larger point is that, you know, all of this is garbed under so-called liberal secular politics, but the world is moving on, and I don't think the young fall for this anymore because they can see very well what's happening everywhere else.
Young will love the like culture was. They will love their roots, but they won't like us fighting in the name of roots. See, I'm a Hindu right activist, and I would like to, also submit to Kalyan Ram. Is crystal clear from Narendra Modi ji that Tamil is oldest, so there is no debate. So we need to synergize between Tamil and Sanskrit, and both needs to be celebrated. And Sanskrit is one of the greatest languages in the world. There is no doubt. So we should celebrate, and please remember, it is the core of Hindu Dharma, and we should celebrate the Hindu community.
Do not divorce the comments Udayanidhi Stalin has made about being a dead, his previous comments about eradicating Sanatan Dharma, and that is where ideology comes together. I do thank our guests for joining us. Now, over the past few weeks, India witnessed to a deeply troubling trend, a sharp and sustained rise in student suicides. A 9-year-old student in Jaipur, in the national capital, and a 17-year-old student from Rewa, Madhya Pradesh. Innocent children with bright futures who decided to end their own lives over allegations of harassment, bullying, humiliation, neglect to these complaints in school. While we have witnessed cases in the past has purely academic nature, but these cases are systemic failure, especially student suicide in 9 years in Jaipur and a 7-year-old in Madhya Pradesh. In Delhi, the student metro, the class 4 student in Jaipur from the 4th floor. Student from Rewa took her life, leaving behind a note at her residence. The Delhi student blamed harassment and bullying, abuse of by her classmates, something that was not clearly being dealt with, and her family alleges that the student from Rewa. Investigation front, Delhi police has filed an FIR and ordered a high-level probe in Jaipur. Lapses by the school. Meanwhile, all angles are family is demanding. India 8,423 students, but a decade later, in 2023, that number rose to nearly 14,000, reflecting an alarming upward trend of 65%. Between 2019 and 2023 alone, the increase was indicating that the crisis has accelerated in recent years. In fact, students form 8.1% of deaths in 2023, significant rise from 6%. So, as is ringing all across, especially vis-a-vis what schools are doing right and wrong, parents are on the streets and they're where are schools going wrong? That Rita Kapoor, the director of school, is joining us. Rita, sense of all of these cases, there is either harassment, neglect, or employed by teachers, which I don't think condones anymore. Your thoughts of these cases come to light first. Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, a little louder, please.
I'm saying, firstly, on these three cases, the alarm bells and what's happening.
Oh, yes. Shivani, I think it's the most tragic thing that can happen to a parent large, and most importantly, a loss of precious action. These are the things that happen, and after that what happens is a blame game that starts, and that as a mother, as a parent, as a teacher, as an administrator, I think we should create an environment where things do not happen. That's the only thing we have. But what is it's really, I mean, it's very difficult to digest such a.
In most of these cases, what is that either the kids were being, I don't know whether I can use the word harassment, but certainly the allegation is that they were either being harassed by teachers themselves, or teachers were not paying due attention to that they may be students. Because so many such cases cannot happen unless it's a systemic problem.
You very rightly said it's a system. I mean, the was responsible for this. Neither the child, nor the teacher, nor the school, nor the parents. It's a collective tragedy. And when we talk about such happening, why do such triggered such a thing? Very sad, which really pushed the child to do such a thing. And in this case, we are all collectively to be blamed. And I think a teacher or a school, we have to pull up our socks at the parents to be done to the child. And one second,
ma'am. Parents today, one second, ma'am. We spoke to saying routinely say, or teacher said, we side with the teachers, right? That is the response of most parents because they know their kids are taken troublemakers in classrooms. Side is to say, no, listen to your teacher. But teachers, for example, case in the Delhi, the kid expressed thoughts. How was that not a for the teachers or the counselors?
It is a red flag. It's a warning that something is amiss. Something has to be done. I'm sure I take this as a part of the school. Informed twice by the child, not taken the signal. It's a sad story. It's sad. Teachers are, and they have to feel the pulse of the child, and whether it's what the teachers can sense and where is strong.
Yeah.
And for this, I feel very, very good, open, flexible, and good communication, good relationship between the student and the teacher established. If there is a teacher and parents know each other very well, where the child feels that he can depend and the teacher is always there to hold finger. So that atmosphere has to be created, and sometimes Shivani, in the humdrum of things, these.
Ma'am, the other that is coming to light via parents, and I think all parents will feel this, is something like this happens, there is a tendency even in educational institutions to try to happen. These are the allegations being made by the bereaved, all of that we're talking about today. In fact, in Jaipur, when those CCTV footages came out, jumping the 4th floor to take her life, I can't imagine what child to do so, but clearly happened. There is the school authorities tried to clean up what was suicide spot or effectively a crime scene. So do you think schools are not taking this seriously? Do you think must do something, or can the educationists come together to pull up their own socks? What needs to be done here?
I think we all stakeholders have to come together and just it. Obviously, or not obviously, I mean they should not, but such a thing happens, it's bad, it's very shocking for the school as well. But what I feel is at this point, when such a thing happens, 5-year old child doing something, they have for the parents also, for all stakeholders. They can also sense there is something wrong. When a child shared something with, they must have shared with the parents also. So
in many of these cases, and the problem is that parents. The problem is that the parents feel that, you know, they don't know exactly what transpired in the classroom. They have a tendency to side with the teachers to feel that maybe हमारे बच्चे ने कुछ गलत किया होगा तभी टीचर ने reprimand किया है या discipline करने की कोशिश करी है. I think parents have that tendency. After these cases, parents will not have the same faith in the teachers. That's the problem here.
I agree with you. I agree. There are some parents who are very strict at home and they want the same kind of strictness to be taken by the as well. There are all kinds of, not only this kind of parents who would come and support the be tough with my child, but there are who are the extent that the they have least to resist flexible because they get so much at home that they are command for the of love or affection. Influence in the family, there are servants around and the child, but when they come to school, different of many children in the classroom. So that's another thing where we need to look at the skills of parents must keep communicating with the parents, with the children. Also, the teacher has to be important. Education gives broad, it's the school or at home.
Yes.
Time has because other things because
in these cases, attention is whether they it out because if indeed or ignoring harassment on the harassment and they weren't able to quote and discipline the child in the right manner or give them the tools to understand the situation, then there has to be clear punishments meted out because I don't think any scapegoat is very favorable here for the bond that teachers but at that. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. We bring to you the new book, Inshallah Bangladesh, the story of an unfinished given 2024 uprising of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Deep Haldar shares why this is about because of hate Bangladesh and why secularism remains an unfinished project. Here's a sneak peek. Book really delves into what Bangladesh has become. The story of an unfinished revolution that you're talking about is the making or the imagining of Bangladesh as a secular country that, you know, the down in 1971.
Yes.
But you're calling it unfinished revolution.
Yes. So the reason revolution of course has to do with the timing of the book because the July August what they are calling so what we are really talking about and the book goes to the past, not just events of last one, is that unfinished I don't want to plug anybody but let me called Bujib's blunders by Manoj. He's a very senior journalist, really knows okay. Earlier this year, people should read the book, those of us who are interested in reading, inshallah, Bangladesh should pick it up. It's called Mujib's Blunders. It basically speaks about flaws in Sheikh Mujib, the tallest figure in Bangladesh till last year, till August 2024, when his statues were brought down and all kinds of things are still being said about him. So I think secularism did not really take shape properly in Bangladesh. It was always a project in the making. Sort of when things were better for minorities, not just for the Hindu minority, for Sufis, who do not follow a very rigid. They have times in political history where things were better for these sets of quite okay during Sheikh Hasina's time, which is why I wrote the book, Being Hindu in out when Hasina was part.
Yes.
So, where there were attacks against across Bangladesh. We talk about because Sheikh Hasina were Indian Bangladesh strategically of in civil society. When I travel inside Bangladesh, there is this conscious of Hindu Muslims. I used to stay in Shahidul's house very often when I used to go. Number said was the current government, which then was the Sheikh Hasina government, has goes.
It will be worse.
Forget Hindus, me won't be able to stay in Bangladesh, and it so happened like, he had to escape, saying that I'm a book signing in Khan Market. I wish I could have done Dhaka, but inshallah someday I'll be able to. Yeah. So it's an that sense.
Secularism, society is
Calcutta. Okay, so and Calcutta celebrates Dhaka.
Yeah.
Like Dhaka, and also sometimes Dhaka celebrates Calcutta, not always. So you have this, and it's still going on. You have these artists and sort of singers and songwriters and filmmakers are always going to Dhaka, and Dhaka, Bangladeshis coming, being celebrated. But they, lots of Dhaka and some 5 spots in Dhaka where there are nice cafes and everybody is very areas at the bottom. Not as if there are villages where Durga Puja is. Even Muslims go watch Durga Puja taking place, but in the next village, year after year, without fear, there would be an attack. Idols would be found broken. Now, 1 year they have really gone. There was never a time, I think, in the history of Bangladesh, which also keep coming to Kolkata and other places. Population of Hindus in Bangladesh have come down so much over a period of time. It was never very. So why? Because there was really, secularism didn't really take shape the way it should have. The promised in 1971.
And when these protests were happening, they were told as off from it, isn't it? I think it is settled that there is no the fact that these weren't senior students' protests, because about this that several policemen were killed, they were stripped and hung on bridges. And that
where did you see this? Did you saw? You see that? I mean, the minister's wife was but not just one or two policemen of being lynched, stripped and hung. A very specific kind of messaging that putting out.
What is that?
That it's an we are going to be the sole custody country. Shot at children. Hasina has also said that I'm mad that I'll ask my police to shoot children. So her administration heavily testers. There were infiltration elements which have not been till now. Jamaat
From leading industries to building empires, only one titan will emerge as the invincible icon. And the nominations in business are Albin Rajesh Kar, Roshni Nader Malhotra, Baba Kalyani. Business person Aerospace Goenka Group presents CNN News 18 Indian of the Year 2025. Presented by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, Growing Legacies, Wardrobe Partner, Reed & Taylor, Bond with the Best, in association with HDFC Sky, Make Money Matter, Explore More, and India's safe, happy connection. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
As the Delhi blast, we're shifting our focus now. As this probe into the Delhi blast, the NIA has uncovered larger, more sinister, two major arrests in 48 hours. Investigations now, the group was modifying drones to develop rocket explosives for a Hamas attack in the national capital. A key break of Jasir Bilal Wani, who also is Danish, a Jammu and Kashmir resident, aid of he has been named an active co-conspirator, also accused of providing technical support. This includes the Hamas attempts to build rocket-based. While the Enforcement Directorate has arrested Jawad Ahmad Siddiqui, who is the founder of Alfala University, in a money laundering case as well. As you know, when it comes to the Alfala University, when it comes to its records, its accreditation, its finances, unpack there, a lot remains unanswered when it comes to that as well. The rest follows evidence with locations connected to this entire module. Now, also access order which is sending the custody, as I just told you. The Alfala University is in custody. Saket Court says his custodial interrogation is imperative to unearth the larger terror ecosystem, Alfala ecosystem. Saket Court also noted that the ED that only a small part of Alfala ecosystem has been identified till now, and they've also said in the Gulf and he might flee the country as well. So that is a that remains. However, the owner has been sent into 13 days custody, and that remains imperative. He is a very crucial. As you know, Alfala was of the terror that was emerged from this university, yet to uncover what is going behind the scenes. For more on, we have with us Anand for joining this Alfala University. How this spread?
Well, absolutely. This is a big breakthrough that the Enforcement Directorate had as far as the funding of the Alfala University is concerned. Trust and a 13-day police custody remand was granted after he was produced last night before, in fact, National Sessions Judge at the Saket. Court has noticed the family members are in the Gulf, but there is a big risk why custodial interrogation is necessary. Not only that, a small chunk the Enforcement Directorate says and tells the court that a small chunk ecosystem which amounts to over 415 crores, something, and it could be much nature, and that is why his custodial interrogation is necessary, since he's somebody who all the financial roots of the Alfala Trust and thing that comes through the Alfala University, and that's the reason why, in fact, this particular person of the enforcement director sought, and that is something that the imperative as to this university actually in reality was it in a terror funding ecosystem for universities that was fueling terror, or whether there are much more meets the eye, something that could be uncovered by the being carried out by, in fact, the enforcement directorate, the national agencies, and obviously the Faridabad and the Delhi police itself.
This is News 18 Network. The largest news network.
As the probe into the Delhi blast, which is now, as this probe into the NIA has uncovered the most sinister conspiracy arrest in the 48 hours. Investigations now reveal that the group was modifying develop rocket-based explosives for a Hamas-style attack. Breakthrough came with the arrest of Jasir Bilal One, who Jammu president and a key aide of named an active co-conspirator support. This includes the drone for an Hamas attack and attempts to build. Meanwhile, the Enforcement Directorate has arrested Ahmad Siddiqui of Alfala University in a money laundering case. When it comes to the Alfala University, when it comes to its records, its finances, there is a lot to unpack. There a lot remains unanswered when it comes to that as well. The arrest follows evidence which was gathered during the connected terror module. Now, CNN has also accessed order which is sending the Alfala owners 14 days custody, as I just told you. The founder of the Alfala University is, court says, his custodial interrogation is imperative to unearth the Alfala ecosystem. Saket Court also noted that a small part of Alfala ecosystem identified till now. That are in the Gulf, and he remains, however, and that narrative link here, as you know, Alfala was truly at the center of all the terror that was emerging from this university, and yet to cover what was really behind the scenes. We have with us much for joining us, Ananya. We really are learning more and more about Alfala. It only goes to show how far this entire network has
a big directorate had funding of the Alfala University. The Alfala Trust owner was actually taken into custody by the Enforcement Directorate yesterday, and a 13-day police custody remand was granted, produced last night, before, in fact, the additional sessions judge at the Saket Court. And a very important notice that not only its family members are in the Gulf, but there is, he might flee the country. Why custodial interrogation is necessary? Not only that, the Enforcement Directorate says, of course, that all chunk of the also 15 crores is something that has been uncovered, and it could be, and that is custodial interrogation is necessary, since he's about all the financial roots of the Alfala that comes through the Alfala University, and that's the reason why, in fact, this particular person needs to be in the custody of the enforcement directorate. 13 days of police custody remand is what has been granted. 14 days, and that makes it very, very. So, what was this university actually in a?
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan. This Friday edition is a special edition, viewers, and we begin with a simple question. What has 15 months of Mohammad Yunus's interim rule turned Bangladesh into? And there's a reason we asked this question and turned the light in that direction, because regional stability and what happens in Bangladesh will directly impact Bharat. 15 months, a period marked by stability but by a deepening political vacuum. The Awami League banned senior netas, nearly 100 MPs and ministers, netas incarcerated. The country's largest political force pushed out of the domestic arena, raising serious questions about political freedom itself. The radicals and terror outfits being given a free run. In fact, stooges of the ISI and far greater Islamist radicals, clerics, are being allowed a free passage into Dhaka to go ahead and spew their venom and vitriol amongst the masses. Of all this is a person who's a Nobel Peace Laureate, and the charge against him is of organizing judiciary against his political opponents, and while using the same judiciary to turn around charges, proven charges of graft, for which he was pronounced guilty as of the 1st of January 2024. A man who says that he upholds judiciary, respects it, is currently accused, as per the Rights Watch, as per the rightsrisk.org, of forcing nearly 21 judges to resign, including the Chief Justice of Bangladesh. Now, as per the state machinery that collapsed, what followed was unprecedented. Bangladesh's vacuum opened a playground for Pakistan's terror teams. With law paralyzed, foreign radicals slipped in effortlessly. Pak-linked operatives thriving in the worst security meltdown in the country. Now, terror fronts rebranded, revived and reorganized in this chaos. A total law and order breakdown, creating safe zones where extremist cells could looting armories, quickly turning into fresh supply hubs for radical networks. And it didn't stop there. Prison breaks and mass releases flooded the terror pipeline. Now, in the anarchy that followed, set up new routes, and the state vacuum has allowed cross-border propaganda cells to flourish unhindered. An interim government struggling to establish control, its weak grip enabling infiltration deeper than ever before. And as Bangladesh unraveled, so did the firewall against extremists and extremism. Failed governance, giving Pakistan-linked networks a free pass, with borders unpoliced and mobs ruling the streets, radical groups pushing back, old tanzeems regaining ground, and foreign funding channels reactivated in this entire turmoil. In fact, Mohammad Yunus under scrutiny, as there are 4 major charges that raise deep concerns over governance: accountability and financial transparency. Charge 1. Yunus is accused of violating the Grammine Bank ordinance, which claims that he operated outside the legal framework meant to govern the microfinance institution he founded. Charge 2. He faces allegations of misusing trust funds for personal benefit. Charge 3. Questions have also emerged over asset irregularities in the handling and reporting of foundation properties, with auditors pointing to inconsistencies in valuation, disclosures and control. Charge 4. And finally, Yunus is under scrutiny for irregularities in foreign donation accounts, including issues of compliance, transparency and the lawful management of overseas funds. So, is a Nobel laureate weaponizing the judiciary? The numbers emerging from the past year paint a disturbing picture. Political opponents charged 5,16,327. The source is rightsrisk.org. Over 500,000 cases filed against those seen as critical. 178 journalists attacked. Reporters targeted, threatened or assaulted, raising grave concerns over press. The Cyber Security Act up to 51 laws meant for digital are allegedly being used to silent dissenting voices online. 2,485 reported, recorded, attacks on minorities, communities targeted, homes torched, places of worship vandalized, 21 judges, 4 under pressure with resignation, possible an erosion of 137 mob lynching deaths, lawlessness spreading across the country as the justice, and perhaps the most telling indicator, NHRC members, National Human Rights, all of them forced to resign. The very institution meant to defend human rights has been dismantled. Muhammad Yunus weapon. Cases against Muhammad Yunus vanished days of the power shift. So 5th of August 2024, the shift happens, and within 3 to 4 days, charges done away with. Files that for years were suddenly dismissed. One after ICC and Labour Court cases were at unusual, unprecedented speed, and this is all not been appointed. Were asked to resign, including the Chief Justice. They were terminated, services terminated. Years were wrapped up in days. What was the hard, especially when one of the Labour courts news it 1st of January 2024 and it's violating labour laws of Bangladesh, defrauding the shareholder, charged upon foreign donations, trust-related cases quietly disappeared from the docket. They called fast-track relief for Muhammad Yunus. Legal files moved from academic close public explanation, raised questions about transparency, more judicial independence. All the opposition alleged under the interim rule claiming but fun. Let's try and go across to our guests at this. Also come back to the overall human relations and what. Joining us this evening, Ambassador Deepak Vora, former diplomat, Dr. Anand Ranganathan is with us. But first, I'm going to go across to Barrister Masood Akhtar, Advocate Appellate Division of the Bangladesh Supreme Court and former Chief Legal Advisor of the Grammine Bank. For your time, we are also hoping to be joined by and he was also the Human Rights Council, the Bangladesh Human Rights Watch, and he's a note to the Secretary General of the UN headquarters on the 5th of November 2025. I have this entire note for Mohammad Ali Siddiqui also to join us in a bit. Your charges were rebutted. You filed a case against Muhammad Yunus and he's also trying to come after you. Please tell us what's happening in Bangladesh.
All your audience who are listening and watching. I am speaking to you from actually United Kingdom, London, because I leave the country on 8th of August 2024. Dr. Yunus took and with the patients and the advice of the people, I took the decision to leave the country. And prior to that, I was working as the Chief Legal Advisor, Grammine Bank. And when Dr. Yunus over the and from my understanding, he will come up. Dr. Yunus, if you want to understand Dr. Yunus, because I have comprehensive research on Dr. Yunus, so to understand him, he's a person with a personal grudge, a person who will take revenge in a very micro level. Will take revenge micro level. So that's why, being a lawyer, legal community from opposition, from the party, from other political parties, those support, and but to take to leave my practice and everything in there, I knew Dr. workings, how he operates, because very vindictive And it was a right decision because many people told a lawyer why he will come up to. If you look back, during Sheikh Hasina, his lawyer, Mr. Abdullah Mamun, was means verbally abusing the minister. The lawyer, you reply whatever you speak. Personal liability is not there. But Dr. Yunus doesn't understand this. That you have seen 1.5 means one thing he doesn't understand, that is called rule of law. Dr. He is above the rule. So whoever he wants to take action, he will come up. The has 15 months, 15 days, the justice everywhere. Our bureaucracy, our military, everywhere, what he has brought in, lawlessness. Of law completely from that.
But
and
aren't
his way of
but Barrister Saab, let me ask you, you're giving too much power to one very simple octogenarian peace laureate. He's done everything for. He has no. That's what everybody says.
Unfortunately, in June, I conducted a press conference after Dr. Yunus's press conference because he explained to the people whatever we are bringing the allegation against him, these are based on fully based. We are not lying. We are against him. That is, you will see he's thinking. You know, NORAD. We might know a organization called organization. Actually raised alarm bell in international corruption at the first time. And in NORAD, in his defense, he is telling that he has. This is a guy who doesn't want to pay tax. Avoidance in his blood. A guy who operates, wants to operate beyond the estate taxation. Estate will be, if you work in any estate, any civilized states, taxation system. And he wants to system completely. Regarding his wealth and what we have gathered, that is use wealth and assets, but he has disguised. I was in Bangladesh a diagram which was you can also still find in bank's report. Bangladesh bank's report is still this document is available, a bank's review report, where it has shown how Dr. Yunus has actually funneled the money from Grammine phone to his personal. So these all evidence there. That's why when he took over the power, his first job, what we heard from the internal things, he actually made sure that all these evidences are disappeared from the Grammine Bank so that when we came out from the Grammine Bank, we couldn't take many of the evidences, but still destroyed most. And during 2018, his cronies were in power in Grammine Bank, were serving managing directors, and they also destroyed many. Still, they found which are convincing how the he's so Dr. Yunus is a man with and but what it is, I coined a term for him, which he when he filed a case against. In that case, I quote unquote pathological lie. He was so with this term, but I think after a few the whole country, whole world, is a pathological liar. He can't speak the truth.
So, Barrister Masood, you say that he is not as simple as he seems to be, and he is not as poor, people's person as he seems to be.
Because he operates, the way he operates, he has a way of his funds. Look, for example, where the NORAD NORAD gives the money to Grammine Bank, Bangladesh ERD, from the finance fund Grammine Bank for loan purposes for the poor.
Right.
What he does, for that money, he created some illegal entity that have power to create under the Grammine Bank ordinance. That's called Grammine Kollan. Now, Grammine Kollan, this fund remains in Grammine Bank. Look, the fund remains seated in the Grammine Bank. Officially transfer the fund to Grammine Kollan. Now, Kollan give that money as a bank, charge interest. So, if I give you that way, then how these all funds goes to his trust, his personal trust? It is a very
So it's not just graft; it's also people you are charging. I've just got Muhammad Ali Siddiqui, Dr. Ranganathan, Ambassador Deepak Vora also with. There are many parts to it. Muhammad Ali Siddiqui sahab, thank you for your time. I'm just going to also have written this long letter on the 5th of November 2025, where you've appealed for an investigation into the OHCHR's Bangladesh report, and this is addressed to the Secretary General of UN headquarters. Why have you raised this issue? Because what you have done is you have QR coded article by article, instance by instance, what has happened under Yunus and in Bangladesh.
Yes, thank you. Let me joining you. So, we later to the Secretary General and Human Rights Organization who addressed recent letter to Dr. Muhammad Yunus, addressed some that he violated. So we gave the proof and part by part the answer. And the daily popular, especially Daily Star, Pratham Alo, and the other foreign entities, this them. My question is that Yunus is popularly using the media, paying lump sum money to them, portrayed himself an innocent person. He is a crooked, dishonest, corrupt person who uses his name and fame with the Western friends, Clinton family and laureates. I mean, own institutions. So we need to his real to the world that who he is. That is our presentation to the OHCHR and the other four other organizations, including of the USA, the senators, congressmen. We sent this letter as well.
Now, you've sent this letter, but is there going to be any action? How has he endeared himself to the West if he is on board? Why is the West, why does Bangladesh is better off under Yunus's interim, and there will be free and fair elections under him rather than Sheikh?
The question is that since 1984, Dr. Muhammad Yunus was in completing his PhD degree in the USA. Family who Bill Clinton, owner of Arkansas state, and he met the family. He put he is alleviating poverty women in Bangladesh. At first connected while Bill Clinton became the Hillary Clinton became the Secretary of State. So he day by day became more empowered. Once Sheikh Hasina patronized him because there was a 3-day summit held in Washington DC while Hillary Clinton on session, Sheikh Hasina, then Prime Minister, did so, and India also conducted another session. Brought the attention to the world to finance Grammine Bank. He misused those funds as well as he funneled those funds to the Western countries, to the lobbyist firm and such other ways, and the friendship. In addition to that, he built America, the similar model over here as well to get the loan to the poor women over here, and acquiring the same amount of the interest, minimum 18% to 40% interest to the poor women, and he built up $17.5 billion fund over here as well. You could be astonished, which I could send the documents as well, that he has out of 50 states, 26 states, he have the offices, multiple offices of Grammine America. And he recently expanded it in South America as well. One of the popular actress, Jennifer Lopez is his ambassador too of this organization as well.
Right.
So accumulated these funds, he got the joint venture, multi other companies, financial institutions to the United States, and he is doing manipulating the people with the wrong information. As he got the Nobel Peace Prize, people knows about it, how he did it with the Norwegian Telenor company, one of the Grammine Bank's biggest entity, where Unisys Grammine Telecom owned 34.2% share.
Right.
And the huge funds